Have you ever reached a goal you worked years for, and when you finally got there, the feeling you expected just didn't show up? No pride, no relief, just a quiet, uncomfortable sense of, is this it? On paper, it looks like a win. To everyone else, it probably is a win. But inside, something feels slightly off. If you've had that moment, you're not broken and there's nothing wrong with you. What you're experiencing is more common than we're often prepared to admit. Because sometimes success just stops feeling right. Not because you've failed, but because you've changed. And when that happens, the way you measure your life needs to change too. When success stops feeling right, most people assume something's wrong with them. So they push harder, they aim higher, they try to squeeze more satisfaction out of the same achievements. And that usually makes the emptiness louder, not quieter. Today I want to name what's actually happening and walk you through the internal shift that begins when success no longer fits. These moments usually arrive quietly. You hit a milestone, finish a long project, reach a level you once told yourself meant, I've made it. There's applause, congratulations, approval, and then silence. That silence isn't failure. It's not ingratitude. It's not burnout either, at least not at first. It's a misfit moment. A moment where the life you're living no longer matches the life you're measuring yourself against. Think of it like wearing a suit that used to fit perfectly. Same suit, same size. But over time, your shoulders changed. Your posture changed. Now it pinches. Not dramatically, just enough that you can't ignore it anymore. That's what this feeling is. Your internal sense of fit is telling you the rules that once guided you no longer match who you are now. The mistake most people make is trying to adjust themselves instead of questioning the rules. Let's ground this. Imagine finally reaching a role, a milestone, or a level of recognition you once chased hard. 10 years ago, this would have felt like a rival. Now it feels strangely neutral, or even draining. You still perform, you still show up, but the internal reward system doesn't fire the way it used to. Or maybe it's outside of work. You achieve a personal goal, more freedom, better balance, flexibility, and instead of satisfaction, there's a quiet restlessness you can't quite put your finger on. That's not because the goal was wrong, it's because you're still evaluating your life using an outdated definition of success. The thing I keep coming back to is this. The problem isn't that success feels wrong. The problem is that you're measuring your life using rules that no longer apply. Earlier in life, success is often about proving yourself, building momentum, creating security, earning validation. Those rules made sense at that point in your life. But as identity stabilises, priorities shift, and as life gets fuller, those same measures can start to feel hollow. Not because they're bad, because they're incomplete. This is where many people get stuck. They keep asking, how do I get back the old motivation? Why doesn't this excite me anymore? What's wrong with me? Better questions sound like this. What actually gives my life energy now? What feels meaningful even when no one's watching? And what kind of rhythm supports who I've become? This isn't about rejecting success. It's about updating the lens you're using to define it. This is where the pivot starts to show up. When you stop needing your life to make sense from the outside and start listening for what feels aligned on the inside. Internal validation doesn't mean avoiding challenge. It doesn't mean lowering standards. It doesn't mean opting out of ambition. It means letting your internal compass carry more weight than applause. It means noticing when something looks impressive but feels empty, when something feels right without recognition, and when your energy rises or drops, and trusting that information. This is quieter than external success, less visible, but far more stable. And once you start listening to it, something shifts. You stop forcing yourself into shapes that no longer fit. You stop chasing goals just because they used to matter. You start designing a life that feels coherent from the inside out. If success has started to feel wrong for you, it might be worth asking yourself to think of one recent achievement that didn't land the way you expected. What you were hoping this would give you. What did it actually give you? And what does that gap tell you about what you value now? That gap isn't a problem to fix. It's information. It's your life telling you it's time to measure differently. When success starts to feel wrong, it's not the end of the story. It's the moment the story deepens. Because this is what comes next in the pivot, learning how to trust your internal compass more than inherited definitions of success. Next time, we'll talk about what it actually looks like to loosen external approval and how to build confidence that isn't dependent on outcomes or recognition. If this resonated, you're not alone. And if that quiet, is this it feeling sounded familiar, you're exactly where you needed to be. Because this isn't failure, it's a recalibration.